If you're looking for the perfect eating plan to get absolutely shredded, then you found the right video, because that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. Now, when I say eating plan, I mean that I'm going to give you the absolute best structure of how you should set up your meals to burn a lot of fat. I don't want you to be disappointed thinking that I'm going to give you a random meal plan, because a random cookie cutter meal plan is not going to help you due to the fact that everyone has to have different individual calorie and macro ranges to burn fat. And that's what we're really after, and that's what I intend to get out to you in this video today. I want to empower you to be able to create your very own shredding meal plan based on your body and your preferences. Before we start, let's just clarify what I mean by shredded, because that word can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. When I say shredded, I mean getting your body fat percentage really low to the point where you could see very clear definition of your muscles, you'll see a lot of vascularity, and the majority of your subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that sits between your skin and your muscles, will be gone. The reason why I want to clarify what I mean by shredded is because the diet regimen that you'll have to follow to get your body fat percentage low enough to be considered shredded is a little different, mostly in how strict it is from the regimen that you would follow just to drop a couple pounds and to get leaner. Whether you want to drop a couple pounds or you want to get really lean, for example, to those shredded levels, you're going to have to create a calorie deficit. And certain things that have always been enforced as really important rules in the past for burning fat have been debunked today. For example, you can get shredded with 5 to 6 small meals a day, or you could have 1 to 2 larger meals per day. Meal frequency does not really play as drastic of an impact as we once thought it did. We've learned this through many different types of diet approaches, such as intermittent fasting and if it fits your macros. Through these approaches, we've also learned that to burn fat, we don't have to eat clean foods all the time. And this is where the major difference between dieting for general fat loss and dieting to get shredded come into play. When you're dieting for general fat loss, you will usually just have to make sure that you stay at your fat loss calorie range, which means that if you eat a couple sloppy meals here and there, as long as you're still in that range, you should still lose weight. However, to get shredded, you're going to have to eat cleaner to hit the proper macronutrient ratios and to maintain a great body composition. I recommend that you eat clean at least 90% of the time when you're really serious about dropping your body fat percentage really low and having that shredded tight look. The first thing you want to do is find out how many calories it's going to take to get you to start burning fat. This is usually done by reducing your maintenance calories by roughly 25%. Once you have this number, it's not going to be enough to just focus on calories alone if you want to get shredded. 30 to 40% of these calories will have to be coming from protein. This is because protein requires a lot more energy to digest than other macronutrients, which will cause an increase in the amount of calories you expend from digestion, and protein is necessary to maintain muscle mass while cutting. The other 60 to 70% of your calories are going to be coming from fat and carbs. Depending on your body type, you may have a higher or lower tolerance for carbs. For example, if you're an ectomorph, which means that you're naturally thin with skinny limbs, you can bring your carbs all the way up to 55% of your diet and still burn plenty of fat. On the other hand, if you're an endomorph, where you're naturally broad and thick, you should try to keep your carbs below 25%. Luckily, I have a calorie calculator on my website that will calculate all of this for you for free. I'll include a link in the description. Once you have your exact macros, if you're trying to get shredded, like I said, you're going to have to keep your diet clean for the most part to hit those macros. A couple great clean sources of protein are fish, chicken breast, turkey, eggs, especially egg whites, and protein powder. Some great sources of carbs are sweet potatoes, baked potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, oatmeal, cream of wheat, and grits. And some great sources of fat include coconut oil, avocados, egg yolks, high-fat fish like salmon, and olive oil. These are just a couple sources, and there are plenty of other good macronutrient balanced sources that you could find. You want to eat these types of foods 90% of the time when you're trying to get absolutely shredded. That other 10% or less, you can have a couple cheat foods as long as it fits your macros that you got from my website. If you want to eat these cheat foods, you're going to have to plan what you eat for the rest of the day to leave enough room calorie-wise to be able to eat the usually higher carb, higher calorie cheat foods. Due to the fact that these foods that we cheat with are usually higher in calories and carbs, a lot of your total daily allotted carbs will have to be saved for that cheat meal. That's why when you're trying to get shredded, you got to stick to all those clean foods the majority of the time. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to balance out your macros at the end of the day. To simplify this a little further, basically, you're not going to be able to get 30% of your total daily calories to come from protein if you're eating tons and tons of ice cream. To get shredded, you're going to have to stick to your macronutrients for however long it takes for you to burn off the excess subcutaneous fat. And that really depends on how much excess fat you have on your body. If you get stuck in the process, you can recalculate your macros and cut away some calories, mostly from carbs. Only cut away a small amount, like 100 calories, or you could increase cardio. Try adding on just one 15 to 20 minute HIIT cardio session per week at a time. That's all that you really need to break a plateau. To maintain muscle mass throughout the eating plan, make sure that you're weight training at least a couple times a week. So all you got to do now is calculate your individual shredding fat loss macros and plug in good food sources 90% of the time and use the other 10% of the time for your cheat meals. I really hope this video has helped you guys out. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a thumbs up, comment below, and subscribe to the channel to see more tips and tricks just like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.